Let's have a little bit of fun and learn a few things. Jeff Landry, Attorney General of the great state of Louisiana, joins us. Jeff, how you doing, brother?
Good morning, Moon.
Well, Jeff, any corruption fights for us right now? I got to ask you that, man, because I know you're in the business.
Oh, there's plenty of that to fight, but, we don't reveal our cards at the Department of Justice until after the investigation is complete.
Well, that's what I like about it, man. I'm just trying to get the scoop for the public, man.
Oh, no, I know. We'll definitely be giving scoop to the public as we work our way through this term. Go ahead.
No, what I was going to ask you was, I know all the budget, I call them shenanigans because I believe they got more money coming in than they're letting on. How has that affected you? I mean, if they come back and had to scrape all your budget and you got to work with less, or has it affected you at all?
Well, we're for the fiscal year that it's going to end June 30th, of which I came in January. So halfway through that fiscal year, we're going to take a cut and we're going to absorb it. We've been working. We're running a fiscal responsibility project over at the Department of Justice through the help of some of my transition members to try to find efficiencies and create savings so that when we have those cuts can be absorbed. It's what business people do when times are bad. And
sure.
So we're trying to implement that kind of program inside the Department of Justice. However, the next, as this session works out, it'll be interesting because of all of the constitutional offices, statewide elected offices, the governor has slated our office for the largest cut, 20-somewhat odd %.
Wow.
He wants to cut the Department of Justice, which would be troubling. I think until we have an opportunity to find out how much we need to actually run that particular office, because there's a lot of important services that we provide. Again, we want to make sure that we're doing it in an efficient manner.
Sure,
we spoke
sure.
earlier in the year, right after we got in, where we found $1 million worth of savings. That $1 million will be, of course, it's annualized. So we recognize that $1 million savings over a 12-month period. And we're going to continue to find those savings. So we'll see how it works out,
Yeah, no doubt about it. Jeff, one of the things when you ran, we talked a little bit about federal overreach and some of the things that they're doing. Have you been able to get your hands around anything now that the feds are doing that you can either stop or ask questions about or question them on?
Oh, absolutely. We joined a number of other states in two different significant cases. One, we had a tremendous amount of success right prior to Justice Scalia's death. It involved the Clean Power Plan that EPA was trying to implement on our utility providers around the country. And it's important for people to understand that if this was implemented, okay, so if EPA went through with this mandate on the states, it would cost the state of Louisiana over $4 billion.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Just to implement. And, of course, those cost savings automatically would have to be passed on to the consumer. So we would recognize a rise in our utility rates immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So again, so we filed suit. We got to stay. It's working its way through the court system. We're hoping to have the court find that EPA's plan is unconstitutional and is an overreach. And it would be, our success would help the pocketbooks of every consumer out there.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, like I said, I knew you were working on some things. Anything else we need to know that you're out there and that you're trying to? I know that saves us money and puts money back in our pocket. That don't hurt nobody's feelings. No.
And the other one that we joined in had to deal with Obamacare. It had to deal with the president's health care law that they rammed down the throats of the American people, and that every day we find how much it is actually adding to costs and is failing the people that it claimed to help. In this case involved the health insurance provider's fee. And this was something that the federal government said the states were not going to, it was not going to cost the states any money. But what happened was when the enrollment didn't meet the federal government's expectation, which of course nothing ever does,
mm-hmm.
They then sent the state of Louisiana a tax bill for $31 million. And so, we have joined Texas, Kansas, Indiana, Nebraska, and Wisconsin in challenging the validity of the federal government to impose that tax on the state.
Wow. Yeah, I just knew there were some things in there. Now, Jeff, not to cut your predecessor, anybody before you, did anybody else work on that kind of stuff that you know of before that? I mean, I don't know if they did. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't.
They did have a tendency to join suits like we're doing. The difference is we've been working with with states around the country in trying to be a leader, and we've got some things that are in the hopper that we hope to announce, in the near future, where people say, you know what, we're not joining Texas. Texas is joining Louisiana in a particular suit. We've got some things that we're working on when it comes to illegal immigration, the health care law. There are a number of these federal overreaches that we're working on. We're trying to develop a Department of Federalism inside our office that gives businesses and people an opportunity to basically inform us when they believe the federal government has overreached, and if there's something that we can do to try to stop that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it really comes down to y'all fighting it, I guess, huh?
Well, and this is, we said it on the campaign. I'll continue to say it as I serve the people of this great state, is that, the Attorney General's office and these courts have become the last line of defense in trying to push back on that particular overreach and making sure that government, and look, it doesn't always have to be the federal government, Moon. Sometimes our state and local governments are overreaching and impacting, our businesses and individuals' liberty. And so that's some of the things that we hope to be. We hope to be a defender of liberty and the rule of law here in the state of Louisiana.
No doubt about it, Jeff. I think you're right on the right track, doing what you're doing, looking at the things you're doing, trying to save us money, trying to make sure the feds don't come in here and do stuff to us that hurts the individuals, and not only that, to hurt our state.
Right.
That's what I think part of your job is to do.
And doing our part, the Department of Justice is really tasked with a lot of collecting on the debt of the state. So we're getting ready to work with a number of different agencies to try to remedy some of that, and to make sure that, that if there are people out there who owe the state a tax bill, then our business who owe the state a tax bill, that we want to make sure that we recoup those dollars. At the same time, we want to make sure that those agencies are just not walking over people. And so we're trying to work with the various agencies and departments to strike that balance.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I see that you're being sincere about what you're trying to do, and that's, it's just important. I just don't think, and that's why I'm glad we're talking to you. I just don't think any attorney general ever got out there, talked about these things in public where people kind of know what y'all doing. It's kind of been a job. No. It's kind of been a job that we don't know enough about the attorney general's office. We don't, as citizens. We don't understand everything and all the quirks and everything that y'all have to do.
Oh, look, absolutely. I mean, it's a goal of mine that after the course of these next 4 years, that citizens and voters out there intimately understand the things that the Attorney General's office does and the way that it impacts them as a citizen of the state. We do a lot of things where it comes to keeping our community safe from child predators, cyber crimes, prosecuting and investigating Medicaid and Medicare fraud. We do that. And the civil litigation things that we handle as well. And so we appreciate you giving us an opportunity to spend some time with you in the morning and educate those listeners and allowing them to have some input into the way the office is run.
Real quick, and we can end with this, Jeff, and maybe you can talk about this. You may have been there long enough. You may not have. I heard a lot of people talk about Medicaid fraud. And first of all, how do you attack that? Can you attack it? And can people get in trouble for it? Because I think we're going to always have Medicaid fraud till we see people really being brought, I'm talking about, down with justice, where people quit messing with the Medicaid and things of that nature, because it seems like that stuff is fraudulent big time because there's so much money.
Well, absolutely. And we have a great Medicaid fraud unit. The only problem with our Medicaid fraud unit, it's a grant from the federal government, and that grant prohibits us from investigating recipient fraud. So in other words, our grant only allows us to go and investigate providers, but it does not allow us to investigate the recipient when they defraud the system. And I think that's wrong. I don't think you can adequately do the enforcement of the law and root out fraud if you can't investigate both sides. So we're working with the legislature to add that component, because it doesn't do it's any good if we go out there and we hold the provider accountable, but yet the individual out there who lies on their application, okay, who's receiving the benefit when they shouldn't receive the benefit, continues to do so. That just proliferates the system and adds to our financial burden here in the state. And so we're going to go after both provider fraud and recipient fraud.
Yeah, I like that, because you're trying to find out both. And I just think that'll scare the hell out of people. And if you ever make any arrests or make cases and win, it's definitely going to send a message that, hey, we got an attorney general that's on the job. Jeff,
absolutely.
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Well, anyway, look, I'll let you go, brother. Listen, always a pleasure. We'll do it again in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Moon.
All right, Jeff Landry, our Attorney General of the great state of Louisiana.